camera and like not look down, it would be kind of weird.
Okay. All right. Let's see. Someone had a 2 over here. What do you guys have to say about it?
When he kind of like awkwardly looked up and down too much is what I thought.
Okay. Okay.
He's a lot.
He was, yeah. Someone brought that up last hour. All right. So what we heard over here was that he wasn't staring into the camera. These guys thought it was a little bit distracting. Okay. Now, a couple things to keep in mind here. Clearly, we do not see like a full body shot here, right? We have shoulders, head. He's sitting at a desk. We're not given a whole lot. Like I was saying to you guys a second ago, he's not speaking to a classroom. He's not speaking to Congress, nothing like that. He can't really spread it around amongst a crowd, correct? So when we're talking about eye contact, just like you guys said, it's just camera. That's really all we have here. Now, I thought you guys brought up a very valid point when you're saying that he's looking down, he's looking back up, blinking. I don't know what to do about that. Eyes get dry sometimes, but do your best, Okay, so now when he's looking down, what's he looking at? He's looking into speech, right? Yeah. He has it written down, so that tells us what? Right, he doesn't really have it memorized. And now keep in mind, guys, with your rhetorical speech, you don't need to have it memorized necessarily, but we do want that internalized. Okay? You can have your full written speech up there, that's not a problem. But we want, particular phrases that we really want the crowd to get, highlight those. You can notate this, it's okay. Like, you have to be presentation ready, but that paper does not have to be, okay? So notes are fine, we do not want it to be a distraction. Okay, so, erase your boards. Any other questions before we move on? Okay, so, for this second section, okay, we're looking specifically for body language. Now, like we were saying before, yes, question?
I was gonna look for body language when he's sitting in the chair.
I'm glad you asked. So, right, he's sitting down, right? We don't, like we were saying before, he doesn't have a full body shot. We're left with shoulders, head. Now, one of the nice things about this is that we can kind of zoom in and look for these things particularly, okay? So, does he nod his head too much? Okay, is he tilting it to the side? Are his shoulders too hunched? Things like that, okay? Like I said before, body language is more than moving about. It's more than just knees and toes, it's head and shoulders too. Okay? Facial expression is going to be important as well, so keep an eye out for that. Okay, any other questions before we get going? Erase the boards. Here we go, looking for body language.
And when Americans are sent to Vietnam or West Berlin, we do not ask for whites only. It ought to be possible, therefore, for American students of any color to attend any public institution they select without having to be backed up by troops. It ought to be possible for American consumers of any color to receive equal service in places of public accommodation, such as hotels and restaurants and theaters and retail stores, without being forced to resort to demonstrations in the streets. And it ought to be possible for American citizens of any color to register and to vote in a free election without interference or fear of reprisal. It ought to be possible, in short, for every American to enjoy the privileges of being American without regard to his race or his color. In short, every American ought to have the right to be treated as he would wish to be treated, as one would wish his children to be treated. But this is not the case. The Negro baby born in America today, regardless of the section of the state in which he is born, has about 1/2 as much chance of completing a high school as a white baby, born in the same place on the same day.
Okay, all right. So, you guys are going to have about half a minute to convene in your groups, okay? Remember, we want the score on the whiteboard and the reasons why on your individual pieces of paper, okay? Again, we're looking specifically, hey, you guys with me?
Yes.
Okay, again, we're looking specifically for body language, okay? And go. Yes, question? Stretching?
It's all good. Really well, and everything was moving sent back. that's male though. He's also nervous. Like, you gotta realize,
Okay, 5 seconds.
Nobody blinks like that.
I want your boards up when you're ready, okay, just so I know. Okay, time, we got 2, 3, 2, 3, 2, 2, 2, 3, over here. Okay, great. Let's start with you guys, okay? You gave him a 2 for his body language. Can you tell us why, please?
because like he kept his body composure really well. It's just he kept tilting his head back and forth very noticeably.
All right, okay.
Can I add something?
Yes, yes, please.
I also noticed when he puts his head down, he like hunches.
He like hunches up?
Yeah, like
Okay.
jaws up.
Yeah, no, I agree. That's an excellent observation. You guys had a 2 as
Yes.
well? What do we have to say about it?
At one point, like I kind of like caught him, like he kind of was like rocking in his chair. It was like it seemed to me like he kind of like was moving back and forth.
Yeah, when he's looking at the paper, he's coming back up. Okay, good. Okay, you guys had excellent points, okay? And that's something to really keep in mind with body language. Again, like we were saying, reading a little bit too much, right? Okay? Again, doesn't have it memorized, and it's affecting more than just his eye contact. We can understand that, you know, when something goes wrong, it's not just a compartmentalized thing. It affects the entire performance, okay? So, reading too much, it affects his body language, kind of balling up. You guys
Not
mentioned...
so confident.
Right, exactly. It, you know, puts out an air of kind of, right, weakness, you could almost say. You guys mentioned he's nodding his head, okay? That's a good observation. I'm glad you looked at that. One of the things I want to keep in mind, though, okay, is that when we're talking about body language, we want to make sure that it fits with what he's saying. So, you mentioned the nodding of the head. He's, you know, mentioning, you know, treat these people the way you yourself would want to be treated, right? And he kind of drops his head like that, right? How would you want to be treated? And think of it almost like underlining a phrase. Okay, so this is important. I want you to understand this. That sort of thing, okay? Now, keep in mind also, when he tilts his head, guys, you good? Okay, keep in mind also, when he tilts his head, treat others the way you want to be treated. Unfortunately, it's not that way. Okay, we see almost kind of, he can't move about on a desk, we understand that, but it's a change of direction, literally in his head and in his speech as well. Okay, so I know you guys marked him off for that. It's subtle, that's a style thing to keep in mind, but it did fit with what he's trying to say, okay? So just so you understand, there's a little bit of leeway here. Okay, do we have any other questions with body language so far? None, okay. So we're going to move down, we're going to judge voice next. Okay, wipe your boards. Next minute and a half, we're focusing specifically on his use of voice, okay, which is in particular pitch, tone, the rate at which he's speaking, things like that, okay? And when you're ready, hey, guys, you good? Good.
1/3 as much chance of completing college. 1/3 as much chance of becoming a professional man. Twice as much chance of becoming unemployed. About 1/7 as much chance of earning $10,000 a year. A life expectancy which is 7 years shorter, and the prospects of earning only half as much. This is not a sectional issue. Difficulties over segregation and discrimination exist in every city, in every state of the Union, producing in many cities a rising tide of discontent that threatens the public safety. Nor is this a partisan issue. In a time of domestic crisis, men of goodwill and generosity should be able to unite regardless of party or politics. This is not even a legal or legislative issue alone. It is better to settle these matters in the courts than on the streets, and new laws are needed at every level. But law alone cannot make men see right. We are confronted primarily with a moral issue. It is as old as the scriptures and is as clear as the American Constitution.
Okay. Alright, so I know that one was a little bit shorter. Okay. So, again, in your groups, okay, you're gonna have about 40 seconds or so. Okay. We're judging his use of voice in that. Okay. His tone, the rate at which he's speaking. We're looking for the scores on the boards and the exclamations on your individual pieces of paper, okay? Go. How you guys doing?
Yeah, but like,
No. No, it really
You guys doing okay?
but it's like, they use it all the time. I almost wrote small because
Oh, you remember my estate?
that's a good tone.
Okay, just a few seconds left. And boards up. Okay, we have a 3, 2, 3, 3, 3, 3, 3, 3, 3, 3, 3. Great. So it looks like we're pretty consistent on that point, yeah? So with his use of voice, okay, I think I saw 1, 2. Can you guys explain why he got that score from you?
Because like he has like expression in his voice, but it's
Okay.
serious. I don't know.
No, I understand. So, okay, he has like a
I
little...
didn't know if it was 3 or not, but
Oh, okay, so just like...
it was kind of like in the middle.
It's like right on
Yeah.
right on the edge? Okay, gotcha. So he had a little bit of expression. Do you think he needed more? Like, could he have been... What do you think? What would you have changed about that?
Well, like it's pretty much the same tone the whole time. It's
Okay.
not like he was like monotone. It was just I don't know how to explain it. Yeah.
It's pretty... Okay, kind of flat?
Yeah.
Okay.